based on addictions and stuff, this is one that it's always been a kind of pet peeve for me, is the homelessness. Because, I've seen it in Ireland a lot, especially with the kind of credit crisis. And I've always kind of watched and tried to see, how can we stop this? And like, there's different kind of solutions, but like one is give dignity to the people. So Finland actually had a very good success rate. It was between 2008 and 2022, they got a 40% reduction rate. And the main thing was actually providing home, give them dignity first, but then provide the help towards their addictions, their mental health, and job training. So that is one of the things that can do. Like, I take it a layer more, and it's like, okay, how do we stop all this? Because there's a lot of people kind of donating and all this, and I mentioned the charities last time, so be careful with who you give the money to. But it's like, okay, how does this happen? And it's a lot of the time it's evictions and jobs. Like, I mean, you just mentioned Google giving away 30,000, 23,000 jobs, whatever it was. It's like a lot of them have mortgages. And sometimes, yeah, you get a severance package and this thing's great for people. And sometimes they can go in and start their own business and life is great. But probably 90% they've run out of that. And then unless they can get in another job, then they struggle. They can't pay the rent. Maybe they've a wife at home or vice versa, minding the kids. And eventually they don't pay. The banks come in and say, thanks very much. And they just foreclose and get rid of you. So, like, do you give allowances for that? Do you give assistance? Affordable housing. I mean, the whole thing is, no, you can't build houses cheap because all the materials are gone up to the roof. Like, I don't know anybody who's like, the big boys are making the money with all the commodities. How can prices that were, say 1,000 per square meter, then be 3,000 per square meter? It's like everything is manipulated. So you have to have affordable housing, because then people aren't. And it all leads to a knock-on effect. All these people that are homeless and everything lead to crime, which in turn then they put them into prisons, which costs a lot more. So you have to actually think of that as well. And most of the time it's down to dignity, that you actually allow the person to actually feel good. And if you look at the cities, evictions and all that, I mean, you can make tiny homes and everything. It's not to say if somebody's got a £500,000 house and, they're no longer able to afford that. Yeah, but yeah, we understand maybe downsize, but not chuck them out on the street. And then they have to go into these, centres where there's 1,000 people and half of them are drunk, and you don't know if there's abusers and everything, and there's people having to go in there with their children. That should never happen. No child should ever actually experience that. And every adult was once a child. So, due to circumstances that they didn't have control about. So we have to have, humanity, think dignity, and respect them, and then but take the layers back. Stop evicting people. Stop throwing them on the streets. Stop having judgments that you're threatening to put it on the newspaper that a person feels so bad. I mean, I've seen situations where in Ireland, a woman with 3 kids living in a car. I had a guest on talking about that, and I read the book, and it was like heartbreaking. Like, it made me cry reading it, because I saw it. I knew there was so much of that going on. That should never happen. So we as humans don't look at the person on the street, and sometimes, yeah, they can be aggressive. Sometimes that they're drinking, but that comes down to mental health and addictions due to the depression of actually having hope, no hope in society. So we have to look at it like that.
Especially, I like to emphasize that it can happen to any one of us. Yeah, it not just an exception. And in the many years ago, that's a drunkard, he lives on the street. But no, this can happen to Roy. This can happen to Arnold. This can happen to you and me. Yeah, so it's everybody.